Over the last 6 months, I've learned a lot about doing pop-ups. And of course, there's plenty of time for me to keep learning and to figure out what is best for my business. But I thought I would give some insight in what I've learned so far and recap some of the pop-ups that I've previously done, how I got into it, as well as what I have upcoming. So now that I've done a few pop-ups, I wanted to make a video from kind of a newbie's perspective on how to prep for a pop-up. First pop-up I ever did, somebody reached out through Etsy. They were managing a Halloween event for kids in a town nearby, and they reached out and said, hey, we would love to have you apply for this event that we're having. It's going to be outdoors. There's a bunch of like shops and things like that, along with all these free events for kids to do. So I thought, why not? I always wanted to get into pop-ups, and I was watching a YouTuber who has their own candle business and they do pop-ups and things like that. So I started doing more research on it and I got really excited. So I ended up applying and I got in, and then it turned out that it was rained out, so they were gonna do it indoors, and this is after I did all the research. I bought all the equipment to do the outdoor event. So I have the tent, the weights, everything for the outdoor event, and we didn't even do it. It was indoors, but it was fine. You know, it was my first event, so I thought I can just learn from this. It's totally fine. So it was indoors at a nearby theater. It was like extremely tight. There wasn't that much room for people to walk around. Again, this is for children, so there was people with their kids in carriages. There's kids walking around. It was just very, very crowded and packed in. And they had us in all these different rooms. I was in the center, unfortunately. And for that first one, I had my boyfriend as well as my baby with me. So it was a bit overwhelming for her, I think. That was a good learning experience for us. We decided maybe we shouldn't bring our baby to those events and have her sit through 4 to 5 hours of just being around all these people. So now moving forward, I don't bring her to any of my pop-ups. So for that pop-up, I did okay. I had nothing to really base it on. I'm in upstate New York, so I think the crowd is a bit different. I'm from the part of North Jersey that is very packed in. I was from Essex County. I wasn't that far from New York City. So it's much more crowded, much more diverse. I just think that the crowd is just very different. So for this particular event, it was a free Halloween event for children. So they had a bunch of like free activities for the kids to do. And then there was a bunch of vendors there as well. But you know, ultimately people were there to bring their kids, do free things. And I did make some sales. It was my first event ever in person. So, you know, it was a learning experience. I did like, for my first time, I did like the way my setup came out. I thought it looked really cute. But yeah, there were some things that I definitely wanted to tweak for, you know, how I actually present my candles and things like that. And I've definitely changed a lot of my branding and the vessels I use and just all those things since then compared to now. But yeah, that was my first pop-up experience. I think I made a little bit more than $200. When it comes to pop-ups, it really just depends on the audience, who's attending, what is it about, what the marketing around the event, all those things. But in this particular one, it was meant to be a Halloween event for children. There's a lot of free things for them to do. So the expectation is that people are there for the free things, not necessarily to purchase, but purchasing is a bonus as well. So the second pop-up experience I had was at a farmer's market that I had attended a few times in the summer. They have weekly farmer's markets in the summer outside, and they basically closed down this entire downtown area of this city for about 4 to 5 hours on a Saturday. I had attended a few times while I was pregnant. It's really nice. A lot of people come out, and there's tons of vendors on the streets as well as food vendors, or they just all different types of vendors. And I thought, oh, this would be really cool for me to actually sell my candles here. And my boyfriend would encourage me a lot. And eventually I was like, okay, maybe I should do it. I did the first one, you know, it was fine. I went onto Google, searched up the farmer's market that I'm referring to, and I found the contact information for that. And I reached out to them and I said, hey, I am interested in becoming a vendor. What is the application process? I make my candles, I make this, that, and the third. So after I emailed, I got a response back and they gave me all the information I needed to become a vendor. At the time that I was applying, they were ending the outdoor market and they were gonna do it indoors. So in the winter, they have it weekly on Saturdays, the exact same time, but it's indoors. And so they were having that, so they asked, do you want to do that? And I said yes. It was a good experience. Only thing is that they required you to book 6 pop-ups with them. So being that this was the second market that I was doing, 6 seemed like a lot. It was also $50 per, so you know, that's a lot of money. And also you don't know how they'll do. I've never done it before. I just really wanted to try it out, but I kind of had no choice. It's either like I try it, book 6, or I don't do it at all. So I ended up just doing it, and I essentially spaced it out to do 1 per month. And I did a couple more in December because I figured holidays, people will shop some more. So just to break down how those have been doing. So the first one, I did great. I made over $500. To me, that's great. That might not be great to someone else, but to me, being that that was my second market ever, I thought I did pretty well. Also, I'm trying to figure out like my pricing, also my presentation, all those things. So honestly, I think I did pretty stinking well. So I was like, okay, next time we do this, my goal is going to be $500. My goal is to reach like $1,000, which is like a huge stretch. It's very bold of me to think that $1,000 would be made at an indoor market in the winter. You would think because I was making candles that that would be the case, but it's not. So the second one came around and I was like, did like $300, maybe $400. So the second one that I did for this farmer's market was in the beginning of December, like the first few days. Then I had picked up another day, like December 17th or something like that. It was supposed to be like a specific holiday pop-up, so it was on a Sunday, and it cost extra. It cost an extra $10, so $60. The anticipation was that it was going to be, you know, marketed like crazy and that it was going to do really well. There's going to be so much traffic and all these things, but there wasn't. It was like a week and a half before Christmas, so I really thought that it was going to be super busy, but it wasn't. It's fine though. It was a learning experience. With doing my research on YouTube, I've kind of figured out that, you know, you can't be upset that you don't do well at these pop-ups. I mean, you can, you know, because you put all this time and effort into preparing for it, and then you spend your time there, you know, you set up, you do all these things, and the expectation is that you're going to make, you know, the money back for the fee, but then also that you're going to make a profit from this event. It's okay to be upset about it, but at the same time, what I've learned is that it's better to just, you know, try and take away as much as you can from it. So now I just like to, you know, network, meet other vendors, get to know them, so that way, you know, you can build connections, you can build community, you can get more followers on Instagram, you guys can support each other. With social media, it's very hard to get engagement. It's just so oversaturated, but also you have to post consistently. There's a certain algorithm, there's a certain way that you should make things. You know, you shouldn't make stills, you should make reels. There's just all these rules and all these things that you have to do. So if you can get engagement by supporting other businesses and then they will support you, then you can do better in terms of your algorithm. Eventually, if you post consistently and you get consistent likes and comments and shares and things like that from people who you've met at these events, it can help boost your social media accounts, and it can help get your account to other people who are customers and who will purchase from you. So I see pop-ups as an opportunity to build brand awareness, but also as a networking event, not only for the other vendors, but also for potential customers, because maybe they don't want to purchase from you today, but they'll take a business card, and maybe if they continue to see you at these events or in other events, they might eventually purchase from you because they're like, oh, I see that you're constantly here. They may engage with you. You may become more confident about your business and how you talk about your business, and you might sell them that time. So with this market, I have 2 more dates with them. Both are in April, one after the other. So I believe the first one is the first weekend of April, and the second is the second weekend of April. So one part of me kind of wants to cancel one, even though I already paid for it. Only because it's back-to-back weekends. I feel like I'm just gonna be so exhausted. At that point, it's going to be spring. It should be nice outside, so my anticipation is that there will be more people walking around. Again, it's still indoors during this time. They don't do the outdoor market until May. I also need to figure out dates for if I want to apply for it and actually participate in. I'm pretty excited about that, honestly. I've never done outdoor markets, and I think it'll be really fun. I also hear from other vendors that the outdoor market is way better than the indoor one, just because, you know, there's people walking around, they'll have their dogs. In the indoor one, you're not allowed to have dogs. People who want to be out and about with their animals can't do that, but in the summer when they can. So the anticipation that I'll do much better outside. The only issue is that I'm afraid of the placement. There's certain alleyways that they put certain vendors in, and I'm afraid that they'll put me there and I won't do well. I think it's just all a game. That's the thing with pop-up. There's like so many elements to a successful pop-up. There's the location, there's the audience, there's you know, the marketing part of it, like, but location is such a big thing. You know, if they throw me in an alley, there could be like 10,000 people at this event, but I won't do well because nobody knows to walk down this space. I wish I could show you what it looked like, but it's a very like in the cut area, but my fear is literally being placed there. The other pop-up that I'm doing is open bar market. I'm super excited about this one. I heard a bunch about the open bar market and I thought, why not apply to it? So I applied, I got in. The fee was pretty expensive, it's $175. My fingers are crossed for making $1,000. If I can make $1,000, I'll probably cry. So I really have to prep for that. That's another reason why I don't want to do the 2 markets for the farmers market in the beginning of April, because I know there's so much to prep for this open bar market, which is at the end of April. It's April 27th. I think I have so much to prep for. Like if I really want to make, say, $1,000 as my goal, then I need to make a bunch of candles. I also bought minis of my 8-ounce candles. I want to be able to make all of those. I also need to purchase more scents to make sure I have enough to prep all of these candles. So there's a lot that I need to do that I'll probably record so that way I can show that whole process of prepping for this market. I'm so excited for it. I'm praying for really good weather. Please send me all the good vibes. I need good vibes for this. I'm hoping that we don't get rained out. There is a rain day, but I'm hoping that that doesn't get rained out either, because then who wants to walk around a grassy area in the rain? I don't. I also just recently did a market. It's called Albany's Biggest Pop-Up. I first did it in the beginning of February and I did really well. I made almost $500, which again, for me, that's pretty good. So I did really well at this event. It was the first of its kind. It was the first time they ever did it at this location. I was shocked that it did really well. Some of the other vendors that were there felt the exact same way. We were very shocked that it did well, but you know, we were very happy. So then they did another event this past weekend. I applied for that one. I went there, but it wasn't as busy. The traffic just wasn't flowing. I feel like upstate, it's a hit or miss when it comes to traffic. There are certain events that will get traffic, certain events that won't get traffic. And for the past few weeks, honestly, people just aren't out and about. I don't know if it's that everyone's busy, maybe there's like spring break or something happening. That's kind of a recap of the pop-ups that I had and the pop-ups that I have upcoming. I'm super excited about all of them. I feel like I've learned a lot from doing these pop-ups. So let's get into the tips part. Again, I'm still new at this. I've only been doing this for the last 6 months or so. I also plan on continuously doing more pop-ups in the future. So I'm still learning. I'm only giving tips based on my experience currently and what I do currently. So this could change a few months down the line or a few years down the line, but for now, these are the tips that I have as still a newbie doing pop-ups. So hopefully this is helpful. Before you apply to a pop-up, please do your research. Do your research on the event itself, on the people who are managing it. Follow their Instagram accounts, their Facebook accounts, see how they're marketing the events or see how they marketed the previous events. Most of the time, if they have social media accounts, they're promoting other small businesses who were vendors at their event. So you could even reach out to those vendors and just, you know, follow them to support, but also to reach out and ask them questions about the event itself and see how did they do, how did they like it, was there a lot of traffic, what was the demographic, just so you can get an idea if that event is for you. Depending on what you sell depends on what kind of audience you need in order to make the sales goals that you have. So if you're selling high priced items, it wouldn't make sense to participate in an event where the audience is much younger. I remember when I was in college and I was in high school, I was a broke college student and a broke high school student. I didn't have money to spend $24 on a candle. We've come a long way from that. The point is, you have to make sure that demographic is for you. So also looking at the location. The location is super important. If it's in an area that's very remote, wouldn't have natural foot traffic, it's really important for you to ask other vendors how they did at that event and how the marketing was. Because even if it is remote, it could be something that people do in that area and it's like the thing to do. So you could have traffic. It's just you need to make sure that it is marketed and you do get that traffic and it is worth your time. I do think it's worth testing different events out as well. Also, when you're doing your research, you need to make sure that this isn't a scam that you're getting into. I'm a part of a few small business Facebook groups and I've seen a lot of people get sucked into these scams that are meant to be pop-ups, but they're not real. What people do is that they just make a fake, event poster and they say, at this address, there will be this pop-up, and there'll be all these people, and there'll be all these vendors and all these things, and that the fee is this amount. They'll get people to actually pay for it, like vendors, and it turns out that it's not an actual event. For the pop-up I did this past weekend, for the first one, I had seen some promotions for it on Instagram. I saw some ads that I was targeted with, and I was very curious about it. I was checking out their Instagram, their Facebook accounts, and everything was brand new within the last few weeks, and the event was meant to happen in a couple of weeks after that. So I thought that that was a red flag. I was very interested. I don't do many pop-ups up here. I'm not very familiar with the area, so I don't know what events are happening. So when I saw that one, I was very curious, but they did have an address, so I called the number associated with the address, and it turned out that it was like a dance studio. So I called them and I asked, hey, is this event happening? Is this real? And they laughed at me and was like, yeah, this is happening. It just goes to show you that there were other people who were calling trying to verify whether the event was real or not. But it's worth it. Like, it's kind of awkward, but it's definitely worth it instead of spending $50 on something that isn't real. So to recap, tip number 1. Do your research. The event, the social media accounts, other vendors, reach out to those vendors, verify the audience, verify how they did. All of those things, if they have any tips for you, that should be the first thing you do before you apply. Once you've researched all those things and you figured, okay, this event is for me, or I want to try this out, go ahead and apply and see how things go. And depending on how you do, you can decide on if you want to do that one again. Tip number 2 is getting your business insurance. I recommend getting an insurance. Also, depending on what you sell, depends on which insurance will cover you. So I would do your research on business insurances and what can make sense for you. Also, along with this, I would recommend also getting a business bank account. That way, whatever money you make from the event can go straight into that account, and then you can use that money to apply back to your business. So that could be buying better displays. It could be buying more supplies for your business, or even paying for the next event that you want to participate in. Always have your business money separate from your personal money, just so you can make sure you can budget correctly and you can see what's coming in and out, what's an expense, what's not an expense. It also helps for the end of year when you're doing your taxes. I should have created a business account from the get-go, but I didn't. I'm telling you here, please create a business bank account. Just do it. It makes life so much easier. You can connect your bank account to TurboTax and everything will just be linked. You'll be able to see what all of your expenses are, and all of them are going to be business expenses, so it makes it so much easier to track. But yes, so tip number 2, business insurance, and then also business bank account. Set both of those up if you haven't already. Tip number 3 is making sure that you have everything you need for your displays of your products. So that could mean your table, it could mean multiple tables, it could mean tablecloths, all of your branding. So that's your business cards, your thank you cards, displays for candles or room sprays, or if you're doing stationery, whatever it is, just making sure that you have all of those things and that you know what your setup will be the day of the pop-up. For my very first pop-up, I set everything up in my apartment. I ended up getting a 6-foot table, as well as a white tablecloth that is kind of fitted. It's not one of those like really tight fitted tablecloths, but it's kind of like perfectly rectangular, and it just is straight sided. I thought that would be the cleanest thing. I also got a banner from Vistaprint that has my logo that can go right over it. I bought a few displays from Amazon. I also thrifted a few displays as well. So that's something that you can do actually, like if you don't have a lot of money to find displays, or if you want to be more conscious of the amount of purchases you're making, or how much you're spending, or even like where you're getting your displays from, I would go thrifting. There's a lot of things that you can use for displays depending on what your product is at a thrift store. So I definitely done that before. Some of the acrylic signage that I have used for my pop-ups I got from a thrift store, and it came for like 6 of them or something like that. I only paid $2 for 6. So it worked out really well versus like going on Amazon and spending like maybe 20 bucks for the 6 of them. So this all means that you need to know how much space you have for the event. So some events do 8 by 8, some events do 10 by 10. Depending on the space that you have depends on how you can actually set up. You could do a 6-foot table with a 4-foot table, which is what I do, and I make it into an L shape. Or you can do the L shape with 2 6-foot tables. There's a bunch of places that you can go to. I mean, I'm in upstate, so there's a bunch of places that I can go to. There's Goodwill, there's Salvation Army, like secondhand furniture spots that I tend to go to and just see what they have. Also, Facebook Marketplace is a great place that you can go to. You can find tables on there, you can find shelving units, you can find, you know, different types of things that you can use for multiple purposes, but mostly, you know, you can use it for your display. Make sure you know what you're working with in terms of space. Make sure you have the table that you need. Use Facebook Marketplace or thrift stores in order to find your tables, find your displays, all of those things that can be more cost effective and also better for the environment, because then you don't have to worry about, you know, shipping and all those things. The fourth tip is making sure that you have some sort of cash on you, as well as a way for people to pay through card. You can use Venmo and Cash App and things like that, which can be very easy for people, but depending on the demographic that you're working with, they may not have, you know, access to Venmo or access to Cash App, or that might not be their preferred method of payment. So making sure that you have change on you for cash exchange purposes, as well as being able to have some sort of chip reader or card reader. I use Shopify for my website, so I use the Shopify tap and chip reader that you can get. I think I paid like 40 something dollars, almost $50 for it, but it's worth it. I connect it to the Shopify POS app on my phone, and I just conduct all of the transactions through there. Make sure you have a good form of payment for all of your customers, not just what you're comfortable with, because your customers might not be comfortable with, you know, just the chip reader or just Venmo or just Cash App or just cash. Make sure you have multiple ways for people to pay. The other thing is make sure you talk to people. You might have a dead period at the event itself, and there's tons of vendors who are just like you, and it's important to build a community that is similar to you, that can support you through social media and through other ways. So definitely say hi to your neighbor. Most people are very nice. There may be other people who are a bit more grouchy than others, but it pays to say hi to your neighbor. I've met a bunch of cool people through these events, and we now follow each other on Instagram. We support each other through these channels, and you know, when we see each other at the next event or whatever it is, it's great to have somebody who is a familiar face that you already have a rapport with. And you know, if the event isn't going so high, at least you have somebody cool to talk to. Over the last 6 months, I've learned a lot about doing pop-ups. And of course, there's plenty of time for me to keep learning and to figure out what is best for my business. If you find this video helpful, please like and comment. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you've done pop-ups. What are some tips that you would give other small businesses to help prep for pop-ups? Also, subscribe to my channel if you are interested in getting more behind the scenes of my small business. I want to do more of these like sit down chatty videos discussing my business and how I operate and what I do and how things went in terms of like my pop-ups or whatever events I do. I just want to be very forthcoming and very transparent on all these things. I don't do this full time. I have a baby, I have a full-time job, I have my boyfriend, you know, we have this apartment. It's just, I have a very busy and full life. So, you know, doing the small business stuff, this is really for me to have my creative outlet, and I'm very happy to do it, but it is very time consuming and very tiring. But I wanted to share that experience with other people who, you know, relate to that, whether that's the small business side, whether that's, you know, having a family plus your small business. If that interests you, please subscribe to this channel. I will be creating more content pretty soon, and I want to be more consistent with the content that I create. So if there's anything that you're curious about and you want me to make a video on, please leave your ideas in the comments below. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below. I'll be happy to make a video on it, or I'll be happy to answer it in my next video. But yeah.